Linda Lovelace's final day. The tragedy of Linda Lovelace. At high school, they called her Miss Holly Holly because she wanted to become a nun and always kept the boys at arm's length. But Linda Lovelace never took her solemn vows. And as for her coyness, history records that she soon got over it. For as Linda Lovelace, she achieved a sexual notoriety thanks to a film shot in a Florida hotel room that would overshadow the rest of her unhappy life. In 1972, she starred in Deep Throat, a phenomenally successful adult film that would make her the world's first adult movie superstar. But later, an unlikely feminist icon, after it emerged, she had effectively been raped in making it. To an army of liberal supporters, Deep Throat and Lovelace blazed a trail for a new era of cinematic ambition and sexual freedom. Now the fribble debate the film sparked when it was released is about to be reignited with not one but two feature films in development about the woman at the center of it. The question is whether Hollywood will set aside its usual desire for a happy ending and tell this real story of a deeply troubled life, one which encompassed not only adult film, but drug abuse and prostitution. Not to mention poverty, serious illness, and a horrific death. It has to be said, the omens do not look good. Lovelace was 23 when she became an overnight sensation. Raised her first in New York and then Florida. She'd had a strict Catholic upbringing with her father, a policeman, and a mother who held Tupperware parties. But by the time she was 19, she began to rebel against the strictures of her home life. And it was at that age that she lost her virginity to a school friend. Just a year later, she was pregnant and had a baby, which her mother forced her to give up for adoption. Recovering from a serious car accident afterwards, Lovelace became involved with Chuck Traynor, a Jaguar-driving bar owner who spotted her sunbathing at a local swimming pool. She was later to condemn him as violent and controlling, but Traynor soon became both her husband and her pimp. She later claimed he introduced her to drugs and hypnotized her to increase her sexual appetite and abilities. He had soon introduced her to prostitution and then into a string of short adult films made for peep shows. Attractive but certainly not beautiful, Lovelace had another asset, and in 1972, Traynor pitched his wife to a fellow guest at a swingers party. Jared Demonio, a former hairdresser, was looking to make a humorous adult feature film with mafia money. After meeting Lovelace, Demonio decided to call it Deep Throat and base it entirely around her. Completed in less than a week, with all interior shots filmed in the same cheap Florida hotel room, the 61-minute Deep Throat cost $30,000 to make, but earned an estimated $600 million, making it the most lucrative film ever made. Opening in a single New York flea pit cinema, a few enthusiastic reviews and talk of adult film chic soon led to the film being a popular topic of conversation at the city's more fashionable dinner parties. An attempted official clampdown only fueled the frenzy to see it. Celebrities including Jack Nicholson, Warren Beatty, and Truman Capote joined the key, and Frank Sinatra held private screenings in his home for guests who reportedly included Sammy Davis Jr. and Vice President Spiro Agnew. "I thought it was about giraffes," quiped Bob Hope. Deep Throat didn't get an 18 certificate in Britain until 2000, but an estimated 10 million Americans saw the film as the mafia distributed it around the country, burning down cinemas when owners refused to hand over half their takings. Later, Lovelace and Trainor were feted at Hollywood parties and became fixtures at Hugh Hefner's Playboy Mansion. She became a household name, and during the Watergate scandal, the Washington Post reporters called their secret source Deep Throat. Revealing that she earned just $1,200 for the film, Lovelace shrugged. "I wasn't paid much, but now I'm known, so it's okay," she said. That dubious fame hardly lasted, though, and her two subsequent films, neither of them involving adult film, flopped. She became a heavy user of cocaine and amphetamines, and in 1976, after signing up to play the title role in an adult movie, Lovelace bizarrely announced that God had changed her life. She had by then rid herself of Trainor, escaping his clutches one night in Las Vegas, where she was performing in a cabaret show. Disguising herself in a wig, she jumped into the back seat of a friend's car. Hiding out in different hotels for weeks, Lovelace then began appearing in public in skimpy outfits everywhere from London to Las Vegas, attracting some attention but never enough to launch the mainstream film career she yearned for. She remarried, this time to a builder named Larry Marciano. They settled down and had 2 children, later moving to suburban Denver. In 1980, with feminists increasingly attacking adult film as demeaning to women, Lovelace found a new opportunity to grab the limelight. In an autobiography entitled Ordeal, she claimed that Trainor had physically and mentally abused her throughout their marriage, forcing her into adult film literally at gunpoint. Her husband had her gang raped by 5 men, she said, and kept her a prisoner just as much as if I was in Alcatraz. He would never let her out of his sight, spying through the keyhole when she was in the bathroom and listening to her telephone calls with a .45 automatic pistol pointed at her. Trainor would use his gun again when she was filming adult film scenes, she added. Chuck kept a gun in his pocket and would click the trigger, letting me know what would happen if I did not look convincing, she said. For years afterwards, I would have nightmares about the fear I felt when I heard that clicking. The abuse continued after the film came out. She said, as Trainor would give her the drugs, she craved only if she agreed to follow his request. But she passed a lie detector test over allegations demanded by a co-author of Ordeal, and others attested to Trainor's violence and Lovelace's turning up with bruises on the Deep Throat set on some days. For her old friends in the business, though, She was a traitor, and they sneeringly coined the term Linda syndrome to describe former adult film stars who later tried to disown their seedy careers. But it wasn't long before Lovelace turned on her feminist allies, too. Complaining bitterly they had used her. Poverty and a series of health crises blighted her later years. During a double mastectomy brought by botched silicone injections years earlier, doctors discovered her liver was collapsing from hepatitis, which she had in turn contracted from a blood transfusion after a 1970 car crash. A liver transplant in 1987 left her dependent on expensive medical drugs, but her husband had lost his building business and they were living on welfare. They divorced in 1996, with Lovelace claiming he was an alcoholic who had physically and mentally abused her and the children. After becoming a grandmother in 1998, she spent her last years living alone, working day and night to make ends meet. A year later, she was dead, driving to a hospital appointment for kidney dialysis in April 2002. She crashed into a concrete post in Denver and was hurled through the windshield. She suffered massive internal injuries, and after 2 weeks on life support, her family gathered at her bedside and asked for the machine to be switched off. It was a sad end to a deeply troubled life, and now history has chosen to pick over Linda Lovelace's life. Perhaps it would be better, given all she went through, if this troubled woman was allowed to rest in peace. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.